What, you say? What are you talking about, right? Well, I'm not talking about the Proverbs 31 woman who the Bible says her children rise up and call her blessed. And I'm not talking about the Proverbs 31 woman that her husband says he praises her. No, I'm talking about the Matthew chapter 20. Matthew's a book in the New Testament. And these are the words of Jesus. Matthew chapter 20, verses 20 and 21. Then the mother of James and John, the son of Zebedee, came to Jesus with her sons. And she knelt respectfully to ask a favor. What is your request? He asked. And she replied, love this mom. Okay. In your kingdom, please, let my 2 sons sit in places of honor next to you, one on your right and the other on your left. Now, I don't know if she was going to fight over who got on the right, or good thing there were only 2 boys. I don't know. But isn't it the kind of mom that you want? You want a mom, man. Not only does she want the best for you in life, but for eternity, You're going to get to sit at God's right hand and left hand. That's what I'm talking about. That's what a mom who cares. She wants the best for her children. And so the difference a mom makes is that she cares. Now I'm going to invite Sarah Robertson to come up and share with you another difference that a mom makes.
Thank you, Shirley. The difference a mom makes for the second fill in the blank today is that she is a warrior for her family. Now you may be sitting there and thinking, you know what? Never thought of my mom as a warrior, my grandma as a warrior. And maybe you're a mom out there and you're like, you know what? I've never really thought of myself as a warrior. But let me tell you, I'm going to honor moms by giving you that title today, because motherhood is kind of a tough job. In fact, I was out Mother's Day card shopping, and I ran across this card I'd like to show you. Now, I haven't seen my mom with a jackhammer, but I wouldn't put it past her. Go ahead and open it up and show what it says inside. Motherhood is not for sissies. Well, I totally believe that today. As a mom, we're called into service, and I'll tell you, we serve a lot, right? Once we're a mom for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We don't get that paid time off, and the funny thing is, I've been a mom for a while, and I've not yet seen a paycheck for all the work that I've done. But today I'm going to talk to you as a mom and a daughter. Now, I'm a mother of 3, and I do have a picture of my family. The little girl you saw there, she's the one that loves me more than stuffed animals. I'm glad of that. That's my daughter, Gabriella. And Ryan, my husband, he's actually back there running sound today. Ryan and I have actually been married 9 months. So we're what you call blended family. On Ryan's back is his son Wyatt, who's 8, and Eli there, the redhead in the middle, he's 7, and he's my son. And blending a family isn't easy, but I'm glad to say that I want to be a warrior for this family. And when I'm talking about a warrior, what warriors do is protect and train, and that's what God has called us to do. Now, in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5 and 6, it says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart." When you put God first, it's not easy to do. But I know that's what I have to do when I want to be a warrior mom who's called to protect my kids and train them up in the way that God wants them to be. Now, I will tell you that Ryan and I both went through devastating divorces. We had times where we were just single parents, and then last year God brought us together. And like I said, I'm excited to be blending a family. I can remember at a particular time that I was a single mom, and there were some challenging days as a single mom, as you can imagine. And this particular day, we were having pajama day around the house. Anybody else ever had pajama day? Yeah, I give it a name. It sounds more fun. But basically, we stayed in our pajamas. I was playing with the kids, watching a little TV, and I was getting some housework down the side. But I'll be honest and tell you, when I was a single mom, when I had my kids and it was just us, sometimes that's when I felt the most alone. Because I knew at night there wouldn't be someone coming through that door, happy to see us. When I was at work, I could bury myself in my work and just, forget that I was a single mom back home. that particular day, I was holding it all together as best I could. On the inside, I really wanted to cry, but I didn't want my kids to see me cry. So I put Gabriella and Eli to bed and kissed them goodnight, said our prayers, and I thought they were asleep. So I headed downstairs and I grabbed my Bible, and I just wept before God. I was glad it was pajama day because I wasn't wearing makeup, or it would have come off that night. But as I was crying out to God and praying and crying, I heard a little voice say, "Mommy, why are you so sad?" And it was Eli. He was only 5 at the time. I felt so bad. He had heard me cry. But I looked at Eli and I said, "Eli, Mommy's just sad." But joy comes in the morning. God gives us joy in the morning. And the joy of the Lord is our strength. And we're going to be okay. He's taking care of us. So I sent Eli back to bed, and I realized something then, that God was going to use me to speak to my kids. That he was going to give me what I needed to say to them. You know, I realized in that moment that I had to protect Eli. He wasn't ready at 5 years old for my big adult emotions and what was going on in my life. I had to be concerned about him emotionally. And I have to say, this protection job has gotten a lot harder. You know, I actually grew up on the farm, and, you know, we didn't have cable. It was out there, but we didn't have it. So we got 4 channels, maybe 6 on a good day if you get the antenna turned just right. Anybody else have that? So, and my favorite show was Little House on the Prairie. So this has gotten to be a lot harder. In fact, I read a statistic recently that the children who are growing up today will have seen 1 million ads by the time they're 18. Can you imagine? 1 million ads? And probably you would agree that probably about 90% of those are not the right message for our children to see. In fact, you know, what they're saying is, well, this is how you have to look to be pretty, or you got to have this electronic to be cool, or you got to drive this car if you want to look successful and get chicks, right? So I know that I have to be a louder voice in their life, and I can't do that alone. As a warrior mom, I need the strength of God to do that. In Deuteronomy, the next verse in Deuteronomy 6:7, it says, "You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up." Now, is anybody else exhausted after reading that? I remember looking at that verse and I'm like, Lord, how can I do this? How can I teach my kids all the time? But I realize what he's saying in this is that we do it by how we are. You know, I have promised that I'm going to talk to you today as a mom and a daughter. And I have a picture of my mom I'd like to show you. That's my mom, Yanni, and she's holding my daughter, Gabriella, there. And I have to tell you that I'm so thankful today to have a warrior mom. I can't say I was always thankful. You know, as a teenager, you know, I always had what was right in mind for me, and a lot of times it was different than what my mom said. But what I knew about my mom is, although she wasn't perfect, she always pointed my brother to Jesus. I knew that she had this strength about her that came from the Lord. In fact, I can remember just in her daily life, you know, she'd be washing the dishes and looking out the kitchen window onto the backyard, and she'd say, "What a beautiful day it is. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." And then she'd turn to us and say, "Okay, time to go outside. Go outside. Mommy has lots to do. Go ahead." So, one of the most memorable times I want to share with you as well is, you know, I growing up, my mom took us to church. She'd pray with us about things. I always knew that she was praying for us. Can't say that I remember very many devotions. You know, it wasn't like we were sitting around reading the Bible all the time or anything like that. She just lived her life. And growing up on a farm, you can imagine that weather and rain is pretty important. Well, when I was 10 years old, there was a drought in much of Midwest. And I knew that my family was concerned about it. You know, my parents didn't stress me about it, but I just knew it was going on. So I remember that our church was praying about it, and I always knew in my heart that Mom was praying about that too, and trusting God with it. Well, I remember the day we're sitting around the kitchen table, and we hear thunder. So our family jumps up, the 4 of us run outside in the backyard, and there's a little gazebo out there. We all run and get into the gazebo. And we watched as the storm just rolled in. And I could still hear the sound of rain across the cornfield. If you've been in Indiana, you may have heard that too. It's a good sound. And when the rain got to the gazebo, my mom just started praising and thanking God for taking care of us. I remember as a 10-year-old little girl, the joy just welled up inside me, and I ran out and just danced in the rain, praising God too. You know, that year, my parents had one of the best years in farming. God had preserved some of our crop, and the prices were high. I knew then that was such a testimony because of who my mom was. She made sure that she was pointing us to God and protecting us and training us up the way He would want. I want to end today with reading a poem for you. There's a picture that I have that goes along with the poem, and it's entitled, The Warrior. This morning, my thoughts traveled along to a place in my life where days have since gone. Beholding an image of what I used to be, as visions were stirred and God spoke to me. He showed me a warrior, a soldier in place, positioned by heaven, yet I saw no face. I watched as the warrior fought enemies that came from the darkness with destruction for me. I saw as the warrior would dry away tears as all of heaven's angels hovered so near. I felt my heart weeping, my eyes held so much as God let me feel the warrior's prayer touch. I said to God, please tell me this warrior's name. He gave no reply. He chose to refrain. Bound by confusion, feeling lost and alone, I felt the prayers of the warrior carry me home. I asked, please show me, Lord, this warrior so true. I watched and I wept, for Mother, the warrior, was you. Have a wonderful Mother's Day, all you mothers out there. And for the first point, remember that mothers, the difference a mom makes is that she cares. She's a warrior for her family. And with the fill in the blank number 3, here's the incredible Karen Chandler.
Good morning. I'm going to present point number 3 on your outline, which is that the difference a mother makes is that she's an advocate for her family. My role as a mom began several years ago, started as a